Okay, we are back with Janky and the Juke Joint Boys. We just got to hear a fabulous set of music from you all, and I can't thank you enough for being here tonight. And we're going to get to know all of you a little bit in this interview.
Thanks for having us.
You
Yes.
bet.
Thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Bob Landis. I'm from Waxahachie. Lived here going on 30 years.
Yay.
Waxahachie, Texas.
Waxahachie, Texas.
There's
Now it's
another one?
Waxahachie, not Waxahachie.
That's
And you and I
right.
have known each other about that long.
That's right.
Yeah.
Randy and I have known each other because Reno,
Yeah.
when Chris, my oldest son, started playing soccer, Randy was the soccer
No.
coach.
Alright.
Yeah, so he and Reno played together
Nice.
back when they were like 5 years old.
Nice.
Yes, they did.
So that was great. Good times.
Groovy. Mac Bain, Dallas, Texas, drummer. How long have I been playing with you guys now?
No, 7 weeks.
Yeah, something like that, a couple months.
Couple months, yeah.
Wow.
Well, since the Waxahachie
Yeah.
Guitar Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
David Hurricane Hayden. Somebody laid that on me, but it works. You know, I get a lot of wind, so it's good for a harmonica player. And I arrived here from Maine, and the day I moved to Texas was the day after Hurricane Sandy hit the East Coast, hit the Northeast.
Good
So,
timing.
had a little help pushed me along the way.
There you go.
So I'm Janky. That's what I go by on stage. I'm Scott Lindsay, and I'm originally from Louisiana. Moved to Dallas in 1988, and huge year for me because I'm going to be 50 this year.
The Big 5-0.
Big 5-0. We're going to have a
Yeah.
huge party in Dallas.
Well, you do that.
Huge throwdown.
Can we come?
Are we
Taking
playing?
Uber, absolutely. Yes, we're playing.
We're playing? Okay.
Oh,
Playing.
Oh,
That's,
my
in,
God.
that's in
Coronation of the
December.
Joint
You're gonna bring all this.
Oh
stars
yeah,
in.
it's going to be a
Okay.
throwdown at epic proportions.
Wonderful.
At least
Well-
it will be for me. So I don't know if anyone else has fun.
Details to follow later. So how long have you had this band together?
So I've got 2 CDs out, and you know, I play the blues. So blues is not like your rock and roll band where you have a set member that you stay with forever. So basically, I had a vision. I guess it was this 2019, maybe in 2015. I kind of started doing this. Before that, I was in a band called the 1969s, which is what's called punk blues. And so it's blues, just kind of if Lemmy were like conducting it maybe. So it's blues, but it's kind of fast and just it's
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, but in my heart, I like to play. I like to play music that people can enjoy and ultimately dance to and just have a good time. And for me, hill country music is what I was led to, and it's kind of the pinnacle for me as far as just feel good music, and that's what I really strive to do. And with drummers, I'm always like, it's gospel beat, man, gospel beat, gotta have gospel beat, because it's all, for me, the drums are everything, and it's based on a gospel beat. But I've been doing this, I guess we've been playing together, David and I, the harmonica.
4 years.
Yeah,
going
for
on 4
quite a
years.
while. We go to
Yeah.
Mississippi a lot, and then
March of 2018.
yeah. So
When I
David
came on.
brought in Landis. I quickly dubbed him Lowdown because he's got the bottom end, and then so we different drummers. Matt came in and just really took it because I'm very picky with drummers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very
Well,
picky.
it was a good pick, buddy.
Yeah.
You done real good.
Well, one thing that we found with drummers is they are the metronome. They set the tempo, and a lot of drummers will overplay. So being able to have that control to hold back and to do what you're supposed to do, right on, spot
I know,
on.
it's a maturity thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it for hill country music, and that's what I play typically, as well as Cotton Patch Soul Blues, which is Junior Kimbrough and R.L. Burnside. The drums it's everything, and it goes so deep. As there's a guy named Terry Harmonica Bean, and Terry Harmonica Bean, he's from Clarksdale, Mississippi, and I was watching him one time, and he actually actually the first time I saw Terry, I was at a club called Reds, and Eric Clapton was sitting right over there.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the kind of mecca that Clarksdale is.
Yeah.
So Terry Harmonica Bean says, look, he says, back in the day, the hill country guys would always battle with the Delta guys, right? To see who could get people dancing and just really own the crowd.
What a great venue
man,
that'd
really.
be, wouldn't it?
Hill country guys always won.
Yeah.
And he says because it's almost like a native, like an African, it's just something in our bodies that just feels it, and
Right.
that's it was just really cool to hear Terry talk about that.
Yeah.
Because he said those guys would always win because they just know how to make women move. You get the women moving, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
off the chain. It's off the chain,
You had mentioned to me earlier that, and during the show, that the Reverend K.M. Williams has been your mentor
Yes.
in this venture of yours.
Yeah, so I was in the 1969s playing, and there was a gig at Sons of Herman Hall, and I get a call, and somebody says, "Hey, the Rev wants you to open up for him." And I'm like, I'd never even heard of him, which is a crime in itself, but the Rev had heard me, and so he's like, "I want these guys. These guys are doing it." He's like, "I want these guys to open up for me." So I'm like, "This guy is amazing." So we did the gig, and after that, I was like, "This guy, if you've never heard of Reverend K.M. Williams, he is the realest, real deal in town. He's the greatest, I would say, the greatest blues musician as far as, you got Stevie Ray Vaughan in Texas, but this guy, he was an absolute genius. And so I met him. I'm like, "Dude, come over. I'm gonna fix you dinner. Let's hang out. I want you to teach me guitar lessons."
Oh, wow.
And he's like, "What you mean? You want me to?" I was like, "Dude, I want you to teach me how to be simple. I'm too complex. I come from rock and roll, so that's what he called me, rock and roll. Oh, rock and roll. I'm gonna teach you to be a blues." And so he came over, and this is true. This is real deal. We're eating, and I said, "All right, come on, let's go upstairs." I was like, "I want you to show me." He's like, "Hold on." He's like, "What?" So I said, "I want you to teach me to be simple." He said, "So tell me more." And then I said, "Well, I get too complex and the things I do, and I'm just coming at it from him." He goes, "All right." He goes, "It's all in your feet." I said, "What?" He said, "It's all in your feet." He says, "You go listen to John Lee Hooker, hooked on Hooker and Heat." And he said, "You can hear his feet. And so if you can get those feet going, it's going to keep you focused on not being complex." And so that's why I also play foot drums. I can do a whole set of foot drum. So we went upstairs, and boy, he busted out. I got a little foot drum thing. He's just playing, and I'm just in awe. And so at that moment, I said, "Dude, I said, I'm going to play bass for you." And he said, "Bass? Why do you want, you're a guitar player?" And I said, "No." I said, "I want to just learn the foundation and the fundamentals of what you're doing." So I played with him for years, recorded and produced 5 of his CDs, played with him in Mississippi all over, and I just learned, because the bass is the root of it, because you can get complex with a guitar,
Right.
doodle-dee and doodle-day and beetle all that stuff, but with the bass, you got to lay down in that drum beat, and you got to just keep that train on the track, kind of chugging along. And so I learned obviously how to milk a groove,
Right.
and I learned how to work a crowd with music. Different, if he would always go to Jimmy Reed. If the crowd wasn't responding, you go to Jimmy Reed. Jimmy Reed, always pull up that Jimmy Reed. So, some of my greatest memories are hanging out with the Rev. I love the guy. I'd ride to Mississippi with him, and he'd start out talking about the blues, and then he'd end up talking about Christ. And I'm just like, we drive through the night, so I'm just like, wow, this is amazing, like the blues and Jesus. I'm like, wow, this is, he's blowing my mind, so, because he's a real deal reverend,
Oh, yeah.
So I learned a lot from him, man. He's a great guy.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. You had mentioned just a minute ago that you had produced an album for him. Is that correct?
For Rev?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done five.
So you have a studio.
I do. I have a studio, and I've recorded multiple times in Mississippi. So I had a mobile unit that I would record in Mississippi, and then I have in my studio at home, which I've recently torn down because I'm moving to Austin.
next.
But in the new house, I have a dedicated room. It's not my office and a
Yay.
studio. It's
Okay.
The
it's
studio.
full on. I might even have a soundproof mixing room.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's God's blessed me with early on. I've just always been amazed at recording and technology and things like that. So
Mhm.
I've always tinkered, twisted knobs.
You're one of
and-
those brains, huh?
Well, I mean, it's so cool to be able to just get musicians to come and jam and record. So we're recording my new CD, and I've dumped tons of tracks on these guys, and
Great. Wonderful.
yeah, it's
Well, I can't wait to hear it.
to have gear like that. But I gotta admit, it's definitely different than it used to be. It used to be times you'd had to spend ADATs and reel-to-reels, and it's just it was crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah.
crazy,
The
but
digital age.
but
is
now
upon us.
you don't get the product that you used to. But there's been several reviews. Even EJ Matthews, I produced his CD.
Uh-huh.
And played some bass on it, I think. And I a lot of times get feedback that it's very Tom Waits.
Oh.
So my productions, which I will totally and happily accept, because I like that's why it says janky, because I like it raw and just not
Right.
perfect,
Not overproduced.
not
or-
overproduced,
yeah.
not perfect. That's the way I like it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, apparently they do too. So you're getting good reviews.
That was Living Blues. Yeah, that was Living Blues magazine.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah.
So guys, tell me about this guy over here. Do you enjoy playing with him, or you got any dirty secrets, or?
We've been to
What's it
Mississippi.
worth to you?
Well, he told a story about me, selling
Right.
heartfelt.
Mhm.
And then I heard a little bit in the background about something else that happened where I locked the keys in his car. So now it's out there, I can sew up and I can screw up. And that's like, but I took a trip with him 3 years ago, my first trip to Clarksdale, and he's like, he was so excited, and I'm like really looking forward to it. And he was also talking about his mobile studio. Well, we had his mobile studio in the back of his truck, and we got there, and they had plans to record the Kimbrough brothers. There's a lot of Kimbrough children,
There's a lot.
as
Yeah.
you heard, yeah.
There's a
Wow.
lot.
But anyway, I'm aware of 3 that play music, okay, and it's his good friend and my good friend also, Robert Kimbrough Sr., Kenny Kimbrough, who's a drummer, and David Kimbrough, who to me, I think he's just such a clone of his dad. He's got a phenomenal voice,
Yeah.
just incredible voice. So anyway, the deal was we were gonna record them, do a recording so that we can memorialize, keep it going, keep the
Right.
Junior's music
Yep.
going.
Yep.
So we got there, and it was set up where we were going to record, and then something happened. It fell through.
It's
So
the
then we're
Kimbrough
like-
brothers. It's the Kimbrough brothers.
Yeah. So it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, what do we do now? And I'm just kind of scratching my head. Scott was already on the phone, and he met this fellow. His name is Bubba Keith.
Yep.
And they call him
O'Keefe.
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 Okay, Bubba O'Keefe. So he calls him up. They call this guy the mayor of Clarksdale, because he's like the ambassador of the blues. He's like,
Okay.
yeah. So he calls him up and tells him the story. He says, yeah, I got a couple places that might work. So meet us here. So we pull in this big parking lot. And it's the back side of the Paramount Theater.
So Bubba
which-
owns a lot of the real estate in
Yeah.
Clarksdale.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so he owned this theater. So he says, this is cool. A lot of filmmakers come in, they like it, And so we're just about to go through the door, and he says, this is going to blow your mind. I said, all right. Yeah. You set it up. There better be a payoff. We get in there, and there's no roof.
No
And
roof.
all this stuff is like, and there's no cleanup either, and everything that fell down, and there's just, debris, and bird debris.
It's a vaudeville theater. A vaudeville theater.
Okay, like a Chautauqua type thing,
Like
but without a roof.
Like the Majestic downtown.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Scott, being a germaphobe,
So-
Scott being a germaphobe says, "Well, what else you got?" So then from there we went to
KROX.
KROX, and that was famous for Ike Turner is the name that comes to mind.
Okay.
They
Mhm.
played there, so all these wonderful guys came through. So that's cool. Well, this will work, and we lugged his equipment up to the second floor, and we get
Third
the
floor.
Was it the third
I
floor?
think so.
Yeah, okay. Third floor, and we got the Kimbrough brothers in there, and we recorded them.
Wonderful.
And it was just magic. It
It's
was just absolutely magic. So that's my first memory of Clarksdale, my first memory of traveling with this guy. He done real good.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I tell you, that was a magical moment because when the three brothers,
Yeah.
that are the sons of Junior Kimbrough,
Right.
that are sitting there in a room playing music so effortlessly that it just blows your mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like family harmony. You just can't really replace it. It's just something really special. I imagine, instrumentation-wise and playing together too, that would be.
Yeah, it
Same.
was epic. So, another note on that is I'm going back to Holly Springs soon to finish that recording.
All right.
Yeah.
I love that part of the story.
Road trip.
Yeah. So beautiful, just beautiful guys. That music, it's so real. It's just
Yeah, yeah. Now, who here plays music full time and doesn't have another gig? All y'all have.
Well, I'm probably the closest to that. I don't have an official day job.
Yeah, we all
Well,
have
you're
day jobs.
retired, so.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a brother that was, I was talking to him the other day, he asked me, we enjoy fishing, so we talk fishing. So how's the fishing? I said, I don't know, I'm too busy with my retirement.
That's the truth. They do say that when you retire, you're busier then than you were when you were working. I can't
I'm
imagine.
looking forward to that.
But yeah. Well, guys, I tell you what, it has been an absolute honor to have you in here, and I want to keep up with all you, and I want to hear what you're doing, and have you back in again. Maybe after your next CD's finished, you come
Yeah.
back in and
Yeah.
do some more for us.
So
That'd
I had
be
an
great.
original drummer that was playing with us for a while. That was Landis brought in here, and he moved to California, and that's why we brought in Mac. And so being that he left and I was kind of drummerless, so my new CD is it's foot drum. So all the drums are on a foot drum, which is there's a new one that I bought called it's called a one-man band drum co, and so it's a suitcase. And it has a kick drum right here and it has a snare right here.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
use this thing called a low boy, which is a hi-hat. So I sit there and play guitar and drums and sing. So
Wow.
I would there's things I got to get Mac in on.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I've got like 12 songs that so I'm thinking about cutting it in half and then get just Mac to do the rest of the drums. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting, but it's another one of those things that I kind of learned from Reverend. It's
Right.
kind of a tribute to Reverend because when
Get
you're
those
playing
feet
guitar
going.
and because we've done gigs
Yeah.
where I'm just playing the foot drum thing, and man, the concentration is really really intense, but it does allow me. I was quite surprised because the drum beats are so simple that my guitar riffs sound completely different because the drum it's like or something to that effect,
Yeah.
typically a gospel beat. But there's no drum rolls, there's nothing like that.
Right. Well,
You know,
that's talent because that's kind of like doing the circles on your stomach and patting your head at the same time. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a coordination thing, I guess.
I've just it was interesting to me to kind of experiment with because we've played several gigs together, and the drums, we'll play songs that you guys heard tonight that I'll dumb them down on the drums, just playing by foot drum.
Right.
And I literally sit. It's a suitcase, like an old 1940 suitcase that I sit on, and it's got everything there, and it's
Interesting.
It's kind of wild. It's kind of
Yeah,
wild, but
yeah.
very fun. So I love how it's pushed me into a different realm.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And you can tell y'all are having fun with this, and
That's
that's
the most
what
important
really
thing.
is most important.
that's my most important thing, because if we're not having fun, because I've been in bands before where it's like, oh, this is a pain.
Yeah, and your music will show that too. If you're not having fun and you're not,
People say that.
Feeling
People
it,
say,
then-
man, you guys are having a blast. I'm like,
yeah,
I
And
don't
people have a blast with us.
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
oh,
boy,
absolutely,
We,
yeah.
we've been to Clarksdale a few times, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of these venues are on the curb, you know, or on the
Yeah,
street, on
yeah.
the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And we'll get there to be a few people that came, you know, that knew we were playing, so they come to hear us.
Right.
And then there's always people milling by.
Oh,
And
yeah.
By the time we're finished,
Yeah.
that street
You have
is
a
full.
crowd. I
Yeah,
bet you
street.
do.
There's
I
a lot
can
of
see
people
that.
in the streets, yeah.
Yeah.
Very blessed.
Yes. Well, y'all keep on rocking and playing the blues and enjoying yourself.
Yeah, go listen to Junior Kimbrough and R.L. Burnside. It's the best blues, because it's all about the drums and a groove, and you will play. You don't even have to change keys. A lot of the songs, the last song we played, didn't change keys. It was in D the whole time.
Some of them you don't have to change chords.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
No, literally,
Right.
it's
Literally.
straight key of D.
It all
You know, so-
sounds good. It all sounds
You know,
good.
because when I would play the Reverend, that's a lot of the things that I learned.
Mhm.
And you know, there were songs that, that I would, cause we never practiced. So with Reverend K.M. Williams, you never had a band practice. You just showed up, and
You felt it.
if you can't do it, you don't need to be there.
Yeah.
And so he would tell us what key, and I would just roll with it, you know, and I would figure out what he's doing, and I'd get it going, but ever so often he would do something like, and these guys know, like if I do Rolling and Tumbling, so that's a 12-bar blues,
Mhm.
but Rev didn't do it 12-bar blues.
No.
He might roll that, he might roll that for 28 bars, 32, whatever. He just rolling it. You got to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so
Oh, yeah.
there was a time I remember we're in Clarksdale playing at the New Roxy, and he's jamming out. I'm like, oh, I got this. I'm like, oh yeah. So I just lay back and I'm jamming, and then I open my eyes and I look over and he's like, I was like, oh. So I'm really then focused. I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? Because I was just rolling with the 12-bar blues changes, just like, say, Mustang Sally or something like
Right.
that. And he's like, no, you got to listen to me. And so if you go listen to John Lee Hooker, there's a video of John Lee Hooker. He's got a band behind him, and he's toying with his band.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there, and he's like, all right, watch this. Because they just do what they want to do. And
Right.
It's just the blues. You know,
Yeah.
It's not formulaic. He's just doing what he wants to do.
Yeah. Here's to the blues.
The blues,
That's
the
right.
real deal blues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Y'all take
Thank you
care.
for the invite.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Keep coming back. You are in the music room.